So in the first part of the tutorial, I'm just going to show you how I make a twisty when I'm making the twisty beads. If you are using your twisty in a different way, you might want to be more careful about your how consistent your diameter is. For these, as long as it's about the same size, I don't really mind. So first I'm going to pull a stringer of double helix Helios. This is the reduction color that I use in this twisty. You want between 1 and 2 millimeters, not as big as a commercial stringer, but not super fine either. And honestly, you can make these bigger or smaller depending on how small you want your stripes to be. So there's my stringer. And I like to have, about 12 to 18 inches of stringer when I'm making a twisty. So next I'm going to use this is Okeanos, and that's going to be the base of my twisty. So I'm going to wind the Okeanos onto a 3 millimeter, I think it's about 3 millimeter mandrel. You could use a chopstick. If you have the heat control, you could definitely just make a large olive on the end of your rod, which I have done before, but this gives me a little bit more control over the size. So just winding on the Okeanos here. Not being too fussy about how it goes on. Except that I do like to kind of twist up the striking color that is the base of my twisty, or reduction color. It doesn't matter as much with the reduction color, but if it's a striking color, kind of putting a little bit more twist and strings in it will give you more variety in your final bead. Okay, so just continuing to add some glass. I've sped this section up a little bit so you don't have to watch me string glass on, but I add a little glass, heat it up, smooth it out, and add more little stripes of glass. And the reason for that is I like how it makes more variation in the color when the glass strikes. So this is Okeanos. It's a striking and reducing glass. And it makes some really beautiful blue and green colors. So just heating my gather of glass. I want it to have a nice olive shape. So here I'm just heating the glass, smoothing it out so that when I put my stringer on, it has a nice smooth surface to go on to. So here it was getting a little bit wonky, so it was heating it up and holding it vertically so it would straighten out. And just using the Osabin shaper to smooth out the bottom near the mandrel. Again, I just want as smooth of a surface as I can get for when I put my reduction glass over the top. And there's my olive, and you can see all the little lines in the glass, different colors and shades. And here I am putting the stringer on. And the first one, I just kind of go up and over. And you can see my glass wasn't hot enough when I started putting the stringer on, so I had like a little gap, and I'm just patting it down. All right, just heating the base up a little bit and putting the stringer on. And I'm just going to put on, I think I put 6 or 8 stripes on with the reduction color. I'm not being too careful. I'm not being too picky. Here I had a piece, because I'm not very picky, that had a gap. So I was just fixing the gap and then going ahead and putting the rest of my stripes on. So just checking each one of my stripes. Some of them were a little bit thin, so I put another layer over the next to them. And now I'm just going to heat that glass to melt it in. And I'm going to heat the gather to make it nice and soft for pulling it. So here, what I'm doing is I'm just taking the little balled up ends where I started the stripes, and making sure that they're connected all the way on the bottom, so that I don't have some stringer with nice stripes and some stringer twisty without stripes. So there you can see how it's all pressed down. So now I'm just heating the mass of glass, my little olive here. And this is going to give me, I don't know, 6 to 8 inches of twisty. And I'm just going to use tweezers for this one because I'm not too concerned about what the end is going to look like. I'm just waiting for it all to get warm enough. Just doing a little test there, and I think it's soft enough. So I'm just going to twist and just very gently pull the twisty out. Oops, let go there. So this is a fairly thick twisty, and I think I get about to here, and I decided it's a little too thick. So I am just running it back and forth in the flame to give it a little bit of heat so I can stretch that section out some more, because it's a little bit thicker than I want it to be. So now I'm going to make the actual bead, and I'm going to start with a 3/32 mandrel and opal gray for the base of my bead. So here I'm just making a base bead out of pearl gray, and nothing exciting here. Just put a layer on the glass and shaping it with my Osabin shaper and my marver, making sure my ends look good. And then one last shape in the Osabin shaper. And this is kind of the shape that I like the base of all these twisties to be. The key for me is I want it to be smooth and kind of that elongated smooth bicone. And now I'm going to apply the twisty, and to start with I want to make sure that I have a full wrap around the end. So this is Skiron or Skyron and Helios, and so a full wrap around the end of the bead, and then I'll just spiral around the rest of the bead. And I leave a little gap because the twisty will spread out, and not as evident on this twisty, but some of the other ones, like I make one with Rhea and Aeon, or Rion and Helios, and put it over the top of opal yellow, and it makes the really cool ribbed pattern. With the more transparent glass, you can really see the ribbing. On this one, you'll see a little line, but not as much of the rib pattern. And just getting down to the other end, making sure that I have a full wrap around the end, and then I'll just kind of pull off into a narrow bit. And you see I missed a little bit on the other end, so just filling that in. And there, my twisty was kind of a little bit down over the edge of the bead, so I was just smooshing it back up onto the bead. And here I'm just heating the twisty so that it spreads out and covers the entire surface of the bead. And just slowly working my way across the bead, making sure it all gets melted in smoothly. And you can see here the little lines that it makes between the wraps of the twisty, which I think are kind of cool. So now, once again, some more shaping. And sorry I did that kind of off camera, but I'm just using the Bead shaper again to get back the kind of ovally shape from before. All right, so once I am happy with the shape, then I'm going to turn down my oxygen to get a reduction flame and just flash the bead in and out of the flame. And you can see it's kind of getting shiny. You can see the little cones at the bottom kind of spread out. So that's what a reduction flame looks like on my alpha. And I'm just going to flash it in and out until I get, you know, that nice metallic look all over the bead. And I'm just checking, kind of moving it around in the light to make sure that I have all of the entire bead reduced. And then I'm going to take, this is Zephyr. In a neutral flame, and I'm just going to encase the bead, and I just want to I'm just tracing over, I'm just tracing over the twisty here. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get the thin layer of encasement over the top. And I'm not sure if you can see, but here I'm keeping the bead out of the flame so that I don't lose my reduction color. So if you put the bead back in now, then I would lose the reduction on the surface of the bead. That gives me the nice shimmer. And when I make these twisty beads, I tend to over reduce, which gives that more pronounced yellowy stripe. So now that I've gone all the way around the bead, I'm just going to melt in the encasement layer. So now I'm just melting in the encasement layer, and I have sped this up again so we don't have to sit here and watch me melt the encasement layer. And one more time, I'm going to reshape my bead. All this melting in causes the shape to kind of go, but I find, you know, just keep reshaping it until you make sure you have the shape that you like. So now I have the shape that I want, and I'm just going to heat the bead one last, well, not last time, but I'm going to heat the bead again. And I want it to be, you know, soft but not droopy, because I'm going to use my curved mashers. And can you see? There we go. There it is. Just gently shaping the bead with those curved mashers. And I kind of like to go slowly. Sorry, most of this shaping is outside of the camera, but I just like to go slowly and check, you know, see how my ends look. And now I am going to heat one side of the bead, just down the center. I'm just trying to decide here which side I want to put the twisty on. And now I'm just going to heat the path where I'm going to pull the glass. And I want it to be a nice red color. And take my stringer and just twisting the stringer, go down through the bead, and then put the final twist on the bottom. And then when I'm done, when it went out of the camera there, I was just kind of blowing on the connection to firm up the glass so I could break the stringer off. And now I'm just picking a little marini. And just heating the bottom of the marini and the edge of the flame. Heating the back of my bead to make sure it doesn't crack. Just heating that bottom part of the marini and the very edge of the flame so that it'll stick. I don't like to flash it in and out, because that's, I find, when they break. But if you just heat the very bottom, it'll get warm enough. And now I'm just heating the marini to melt it, because I want it to pull in, and then I'm going to plunge the center of it. And it didn't quite go in as far as I wanted, so I'm heating it again. Poking the center again. That looks a little bit better. And now I'm using this tool to cool the marini so that I can push it down into the bead so it doesn't stick up quite as far. And now I'm just striking the marini there. Heat the back a little bit before I put it in the kiln. Check my marini again. Strike it a little bit more. Just trying to see if it's color that I like. And this particular marini is from Kaz, and it gets this cool kind of bluish green color, and so that's what I was trying to get there.